Welcome back to Listen Bitch Presents Tell Me Why You're Special. This is the arena where we don't just talk about success, we talk about what survives heartbreak. Because the truth is, most people spend their lives trying to avoid pain, but some people get handed pain they would never have chosen. And that kind changes everything. The kind that divides life into two parts. There's a before and then there's an after. And when tragedy hits, some people collapse, some people harden, and some people somehow find a way to build something beautiful from the wreckage. And it's not because the pain disappears, it's because love refused to die with it. So today we're going to talk about grief, we're going to talk about legacy, music, community, purpose, and what happens when a father decides his son's story isn't over yet. Today's guest is Michael Gomoll. I'm super excited for you to be here. He is the founder of Joey's Song, a movement born from the loss of his son Joey, which has grown from a few acoustic guitars in a sports bar into one of the most unique music driven charitable communities in the country. So, Mike, let's start here. I say let's just go back to the moment that Joey receives his diagnosis. What is the
Yeah.
hardest truth in that moment that you're facing as a father?
Well, thanks, Brandon. And that was a beautiful introduction, by the way.
Ah,
Thank you. Um, um, it's the unknown, right? I mean, epilepsy. So Joe had a very rare form of epilepsy called Dravet syndrome. And epilepsy is a spectrum disorder. There's not one epilepsy, there's not one cause, and there's not one way it manifests itself. And it is really a great big unknown right now. It still is. The mind is still the last kind of medical frontier. So even when you get an epilepsy diagnosis, it's just the beginning of a series of unknowns. It's not an end or it's not a start of it's the start of a journey, but it's the start of a journey with multiple paths.
right.
And unfortunately for Joe, he was misdiagnosed for a couple of years for a bunch of circumstances that was nobody's fault. And so it was even a tougher path because Dravet's is a very, as I said, a rare form with not many treatments and cures, certainly at the time, 15 years ago when Joe passed. But even today, there's not a lot of, the prognosis isn't great. Let's put it that way. So for us as a family, it was about figuring out what this is, what it
Yeah.
means, and what we can do to help him the best we can. Plus his older brother and sister who were, 5 and 7 at the time as well. You're a growing family. So to be honest with you, it was a whole lot of unknown as
Yeah.
to, and we had good neurologists that were honest with us and says, we don't know, here's what we're going to try, as opposed to, well, if we, do
Right.
these couple of things. And I think when you're going through something like that, honesty helps so much
Oh yeah.
and clarity helps so much.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. And I mean, parenting is the big unknown anyway. And so you
Right.
take something like this and you just stack it on it and still try to give, everyone some sort of normal childhood,
Right.
like just
Right.
trying to exist. I can't even imagine what you were juggling. What was Joy like outside of the
Oh, he
diagnosis?
was, for a kid that had everything thrown at him, boy, he didn't let it get him down. So Joe was Dravet puts you on the autism spectrum as well. So his Dravet made him nonverbal, but that did not make him non-communicative.
Yeah.
He was very outgoing, very sure of himself. Part of the reason we chose music as our fundraiser for Joey's Song is because music was the way that Joey related to the world. So when if you we were in a room and we had Teletubbies on or any one of his favorite shows on, and the music started playing, Joe made sure that everybody in the room was up and dancing. He was not going to settle for anything less than everybody, bopping up and down to the Teletubbies theme. So he was curious, he was interested, he was as engaged as one can be, because when you have a seizure, it knocks you on your what for,
Yeah.
several hours afterwards.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it meant ambulance trips and a whole lot of other stuff. But as soon as he recovered, they call it post-ictal. As soon as he was past his post-ictal stage, he was right back
On
to
fire.
being exactly what a 3-year-old should be, engaged and in trouble and
Oh,
doing
that's
all the
great.
stuff he wasn't supposed to do. He was delightful. And
Yeah.
most of us that get down after a bad day have no idea what it's like. And boy, that little fella did not let it get to him.
Well, he sure showed you how to handle it, right? What a gift.
Absolutely.
What a gift to teach, to just teach us like how to be in the moment and how to enjoy life no matter how many times you get knocked down, just come right back up. Like the little frog
And
punching bag, right? Just
and
boom.
that's the benefit of youth, and that's the
Yeah.
benefit of not knowing any different. It's like, here's the cards I'm dealt, let's play them, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately,
So,
so many of us just grow up and grow out of that when I think we all could be a little more like Joey.
yep. Find the
What do you
joy.
yes. What do you think or like what would you Mike, what would you kind of want people to understand cuz you're not alone in the space of raising a child with, you
Right.
know, issues.
Right.
Epilepsy. I've heard a lot of people have that. What do you wish
Yes.
people really understood about raising a child in this space?
Yeah, that's a great question. The first thing I would say is, if you are the parent of a special needs child, realize that you are, this may sound cliche, but you are not alone.
Yeah.
That there are so many people dealing with it, from one end of the special needs spectrum to the other. And that the most important thing you can do is ask for and seek help, right?
Yeah.
From your medical community, your family, your ecosystem, whatever it is. Um, while you feel like, well, nobody will understand, they may not understand, but that doesn't preclude them from helping.
Yeah.
And parenting is tough enough, right? I mean, we all think
Exactly.
when we're kids that there's an operator's manual and that you'll know, and you realize even at this point that my other two kids are 26 and 24, I still don't know
Still don't
what
know
I'm
what the
doing.
hell's going on. I know.
Exactly.
I'm like,
Right.
it's my
Right.
first time being a mom, y'all. I don't care how old you are. This is my very first experience. Like, I'm new at this. Same
Exactly
deal.
right. And that's why asking for help in all the ways, from the simple things like, it's been a really rough day, maybe a neighbor can make a run to Subway for you and get some subs for dinner, all the way to, boy, we need a break. Let's find out a way to get some care in here for the kids so we can go away and keep
Yeah.
our marriage intact, right? All of those kinds of things. So that's the biggest thing, would be to realize you're not alone, and then to ask for help, because people will understand. I know the world is very polarized right now,
Yeah.
but everybody's most people want to help us all kind of get through it as unscathed as we can. And when you add on to that all of the issues with a special needs child,
Yeah.
that's my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I'm starting to realize it's not really the world that's polarized. It's the media and social media, right? Like they make
Correct.
it seem very scary, but there is really, we all just want to make sure everybody next to us is okay. You know, we don't
Yep.
walk by the burning car and leave everybody in it. That's just not, it's not our nature. It's humans. We're there to help
Correct.
people.
And the phrase "it takes a village" is certainly true,
Yeah.
right? We all have strengths and weaknesses as people and as parents, and lean upon them, and use that network. There's a reason why you're friends with the people you're friends with, is because you've
Yeah.
got some commonality, and use it in times of need.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. How did years, because I know people will say like kids are resilient, right? Like I hear
Right.
that so many times, and on some level I really do think they are, but also, I mean, you guys have years of ambulance rides and years of
Yes.
uncertainty affecting your family. What is the emotional toll there?
Well, let's break it down into my wife and I. It was, and we're still together. That's another thing. Marriages are one of the first victims of something like
Of
this,
loss.
and
Yeah.
the fact that Nori and I have made it out the other end and are still together, I think says something,
Yeah,
about us.
absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
it takes a toll on the marriage and your relationship, because you know, especially when it's an illness of such uncertainty, you don't always, it's hard enough to agree on what you're going to have for dinner, or how we should load the dishwasher, right? And I don't mean to compare that with the care of a child, but those are hard because we all have our little quirks and our ways of doing stuff, right? Add to that an illness with so many unknowns and so many traumatic aspects to it. Um, you got to make sure that you're looking out for each other. And that it's going to sound weird what I'm about to say, but that's more about friendship than about love.
Oh yeah.
Meaning it's about being a friend to this person and helping them like you'd want someone to help you.
Of course.
Um, for my kids, they were young enough to know something wasn't right, but not old enough for it to change who they were. He was still just their little brother. Yeah, he had his issues, but he was still their little brother. We're in the process of redecorating the house, and that means going through pictures to put up on the walls.
Yeah.
And you kind of forget all those fun moments, right?
Yeah.
You forget the time when they got into the dirt in the backyard, or when and I'm talking about all three of them, right?
Yeah.
Even Joe with his special needs. And you kind of go, yeah, it was different, but they, not Nori and I, my wife and I,
Yeah.
they did a really good job of making it normal, right? They did
Nice.
a really good job of making sure their little brother was involved in all that.
Yeah.
So the good news is obviously his passing, affected them in a different way. But during while he was with us in his illness, um, the kids did better than Nori and I did,
Yeah.
and that's a
Yeah.
blessing.
Yeah. No, I love to hear that. And I think that's a big testament to just you and your wife realizing like you're on the same team here. I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
obviously you're very much in alignment, and I think it's easy to, for just even in a regular household without a kid with special needs
Right.
or issues, like, most of the time they start acting like they're on the wrong side. So to be thrown all of those obstacles and you guys still just realize, hey, we're on the same team, we have the same goal, let's take the next step forward. I think that's beautiful.
Agreed.
And to
Agreed.
hear that
Thank you.
about the kids,
Yep.
I could tell, obviously, Joy is a huge impact and a huge gift and blessing in spite of everything you guys had to go through. Was there a moment when you were just super mad at the world, cursing God, just like, what the hell is happening?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. It's a um I can't say that everybody would have that reaction, but I don't think you're human if you don't have that reaction
I agree.
at some point.
Hmm.
Um, and yes, every day I was mad, and it would vary who I was mad at. I was mad at, or what I was mad about. I was
Yeah.
mad that, see, because the other thing when you get a diagnosis like Joe had is that's, you already know it's a stolen future. The future you had for this little
Oh
bundle
yeah.
was going to be, oh yeah, he's going to be a baseball player or a musician or
Yeah.
a doctor or, whatever he's going to be. And once you realize that
Gone.
that's not going to happen,
Hmm.
you grieve for that lost potential or that lost future. So I would be mad for him at the no, 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 he was going to be special and not in the way that it's turned out. This isn't right. And then you get angry at the impact that it has because we couldn't do family vacations like everybody else. And so then I would feel bad for Julia and Sam, my two kids.
Yeah.
It's like we can't, I would take the kids on vacation and my wife would stay home with Joe
Yeah.
when it was spring break or the kind of stuff you do. So there would be that. So then I'd be mad for them. And then right through to this isn't what Nori and I had planned. And oh yeah, I I did really good with the rage.
Yeah. No, I can imagine just even trying to hold the two truths. Like, you're in the
Right,
situation you're in, you can't change it, but also this was why him? He
right.
didn't deserve this. It wasn't fair. So like
Yeah,
holding all of that and still trying to function to say, okay, well, this is what we're dealt. What do we do now? So
yeah.
what is
I, I,
losing? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
will tell you, the at University Hospital here in Madison, Wisconsin, where we are at the Children's Hospital, they had the unit where Joe, when he would have to go stay, was on the same unit as the pediatric oncology ward, right?
Yeah.
And that's where that gets back to it doesn't make me happier that others are involved, but I realize that everybody's got their burdens
Oh
and
yeah.
if you want to be grateful for what you have,
Hmm.
take a walk through a pediatric oncology ward real quick, and that'll sober you up real fast on um, people that are really dealing with some serious stuff. So I don't mean to bring people down on that, but
No.
that's that's all part of that realization that we've all got our stuff, and the strong, I've heard it said that asking for help is the sign of strength. People think I got to be strong and I got to go through. No, 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 no. That's weakness because that's the easy way, in my opinion. That's the
Right.
easy way out. The strength is going, all right, this isn't working. I'm struggling with this. There are people that can help me do that. If not for you, for the other people in your family, in your life, in your ecosystem, whatever it
Yeah.
might be, that's the strength. So,
Oh, I so believe that. And I love what you said about really like go take a walk on the ward. And I think, as parents, we have 6 kids and there were times like, I see my husband drowning and I'm like, man, like we are blessed beyond measure because none of them are special needs. Like they're all,
right.
we're so blessed. And I think we get so in it that we kind of take that for granted. And I think any parent that's really in it and you feel like you're drowning, go volunteer to read to those babies on the pediatric floor. That is a possibility. um,
Yeah.
go spend a day reading to them, and I think you're going to
Yep.
go home and you're going to feel completely different about your perspective changes. It
Im, im,
changes,
im,
and
immediately,
yes,
immediately. I remember when I was first learning how to deal with what we had to deal with and
yeah,
social media, and you would see some parent post that they were outraged that little Susie or little Johnny didn't make first chair violin and how,
uh,
and it takes one of the things that I've learned is that the level of whatever you're going through doesn't minimize somebody else's. That upset is real to them, and it is. They have their
yeah,
dreams for little Johnny to be first chair
hmm,
violin, but sometimes it's a bit of a struggle to not go, you have no idea. And I think that's part of the learning curve as well for somebody going through something like that is to not have the depth of your issue
pain, yeah,
be a scale for somebody else's because that's really important to them. I had people that would come up to me with pretty significant life things. I had a coworker who they were having trouble conceiving, and she was talking to me. And at the end, she says, "Look at me after what you're going through." And I said to her at the time, I said, "No, apples and oranges. That does not
exactly,
minimize how impactful this issue that you and your husband are having just because,
yeah,
it's not a contest, right?
right,
It's not a sadness contest. It's not a trauma contest. But nobody can tell you that. I think you've got to learn it for yourself and kind of realize, no, I don't want to be that guy that says, well, you don't know how bad, that's doesn't do anybody any good.
yeah. No, I very much agree, and I think that comparison thing, like I've been a homeschool mom, so my kids have been with me like the minute they're born, like every
Yeah.
single day, right? My
Right.
eldest went to college and I lost it. I mean, 3 months of crying, not I was not okay. And people are like, it's
Right.
not like she's dead. That's all I kept hearing. It's not like she's dead. And I'm like, you don't understand, there's a level of grief here. And then my two oldest move
Absolutely.
out last year and there's a whole level of grief. Can I compare it to your grief? Absolutely not, but it's still grief in my own way. And I mean, everyone tried to take that from me, and I finally was like, I'm going to grieve. Like,
Yeah.
this is a loss.
Yeah.
I have to be someone different now. I'm grieving the old me. I'm grieving a mom. Like, there's so much in that, and I think you're spot on in comparing that. And everybody's like, what you're going through does matter, but those points
It
where
it
it gets
absolutely does.
overwhelming,
It does.
yeah,
Yeah.
when it's
There's not a
overwhelming,
severity scale on it.
no,
Yeah.
just find the
I,
perspective.
I agree. I
Yeah.
just so you know, when both Sam and Julia went off to college and I did the drive back, I bawled like a
Oh
baby.
my gosh.
Just bawled and bawled
Yeah.
and bawled. So yeah, I
It's a part of the
I I
process.
I get
Yeah.
it. And yeah, and you would get people that say, "Well, what you've been through," you would think, "No, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
It's all the moment." And I think that's valuable because if you're not doing that, you're not, as we started talking to this, you're not living in the moment then if you're
No.
not doing that, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I think that just causes more problems if you're trying to push that down, right?
Correct.
Keep it all in a little ball, and that's
Yeah.
how ulcers form.
Exactly. And I mean, no one talks. I just feel like there's not a space where anybody ever talked about that. The grief of like when your
No,
kids move out and how things look different. No one talks about that. So I'm like, I was
no,
thinking this whole time, I'm like, man, I'm really broken because I'm just sick. I'm sick. I'm
yeah.
barely coming on the outside of that, of like adjusting to the fact that they have their own lives and they're doing their own thing. And now I only have 4 kids here, and I'm like, it feels so empty. But it's wild. But being a parent is a wild experience in itself. What did
It
losing
sure is.
Joey teach you about love?
About love
Yeah.
or life? I love.
Love. Yeah.
Oh my God, man, that's a 3 hour miniseries right there. Um, Kids in general teach you what unconditional love is.
Yeah.
Um, that Yeah, and there's not enough wood in my office here to knock on. I'm so grateful. I have nothing but joy and pride and admiration for Julia and Sam. I don't, I know I'm fortunate in that not everybody, they were perfect kids in the sense that they never got into trouble and so on.
Yeah.
So that unconditional love comes with them, but you realize that unconditional love when you have a child like Joe, and then when you lose a child like Joe, you realize it's real. You realize that you love for who they are. You love for what they are doing. You love for the strength that they're showing, even if they don't know that they're showing it. Um, all of that stuff. And that feeling of sacrifice too. And I don't mean that in a woe is me. I mean that all that matters is your kids, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing. I'm fortunate at this point. Both of my folks are still alive. My dad's 90, my mom's 88, and we talk about it a lot about the kids. And and I mean this in a positive way, even though it's like my mom and dad and I and my wife and I, we've run our race. We've made it to retirement. We've made it, and we're comfortable and all that. Now it's all about those kids, right? And it's
Yeah.
all about helping them make the right decisions and the right choices. But to answer your question, what it taught me about love is that there is such a thing as unconditional love. And when you realize that your special needs child that, causes all sorts of bumps in the road is just as wonderful as the two that aren't doing that.
Yeah.
That's what it taught me.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. After Joey passed, what made you decide to build something instead of just withdrawing from the world
Yeah.
in that victim state?
Yeah, and it was a pick 'em for a while there, right? It was either do Joey song or crawl inside a bottle of Johnny Walker Red, and there were times when that second option felt pretty good. Um, Even when Joe was still with us, I had thought about trying to do something, as we still say in Joey's song, to help the next family, right? Somebody is sitting in a neurologist's office right now as you and I are speaking with a child on their knee, and they're hearing words they don't understand, that they don't know, and they have no idea what freight train is coming at them. They need to know that there are people out. This gets back to that asking for help in a kind of a roundabout way. They need to know that there are people out there fighting for them. And when I say we're fighting for them, what we do is there's lots of different ways you can help in a medical cause. You can create awareness, you can do patient services, or in our case, we focus on research. We raise all this money through our concerts so that the people that are, and I'm showing my age here with this, that are mixing the test tubes together, hoping the red liquid turns blue
Yeah.
so they can go Eureka. They need to, and in these times, funding has been cut for research, not added to. And so we as a family felt like, what if somebody had 10 years before Joe was born really put more research into Dravet? Maybe there would have been a treatment. Maybe there would have been a cure. Maybe there would have been more hope than there was. So that was really it. It was that feeling of, I've got this opportunity. I was not in the music business as my career, but I was back in college, and I was
Yeah.
fortunate to have some famous friends. It just seemed like an opportunity that I would be wasting if I didn't at least give it a try. And now it's blossomed into this. And so to answer your question, it's really what made us do it is to provide hope for those that are still fighting the fight.
What point did you realize that Joey Song is becoming something so
Yeah.
much bigger than a fundraiser?
Good. When I stopped having to ask the artist if they were coming back, it slowly built over the years, right? And to the point where 4 or 5 years ago, I had people and they're still coming back every year, Go-Go's and the Bangles and the Goo Goo Dolls and Tears for Fears and Cheap Trick. And I don't ask anymore. And it was about 3 or 4 years ago, because I always assumed, oh, well, they gave me their year. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And they keep coming back. And the important thing is, these people all do this for free. right?
Wow.
There's no, I don't, so all these people, my musical director is a guy called Butch Vig, and Butch is a Grammy winning producer, Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins, Green Day. He won a Grammy for producing Paul McCartney. You don't get much bigger than that. And he just kept coming back, right? And I just assumed the 1 year I got him, oh, we'll be, thank you, Butch. I really, and he just keeps coming back and coming back. And so they all do this for free. And I don't know what Butch gets for a week of his time, because that's how long they're here, because we've got to rehearse and do all this.
Mm-hmm.
But he does it for, a beer and two ham sandwiches for
I
me,
love
and the rest
that.
of them all do it. So when I realized that I no longer, and there's an and on that, they are my best recruiters now. They're the ones that say, "Hey, my friend was insert famous person here. You want me to ask them if they want to come?" And I'm like, "Yes, please." Um,
Yes.
that's when I realized the event itself was substantial. Because these people don't have to do it. They come to Madison in January. These are people that
Oh,
live in LA,
yeah.
right? They come to Wisconsin for no pay for a week. So we must be doing something right.
Yeah, I love that so much. And it does say a lot about this. Do you have a behind the scenes story that kind of captures the spirit of Joey's song that you can tell us?
Oh man, I got about 400 of them.
Uh,
Um, here's the essence to it. So I'll try not to get too deep in the musical geek weeds here, but one of the people that helps us is a guy called Jody Stevens, who was in a band called Big Star, who was a big influential band on bands like REM and a lot of the 80s bands. So Big Star, never sold a lot of records, but they're a very influential band. And the Bangles have covered them. Cheap Trick has covered them. REM has covered Big Star. So Jody comes every year and sings some Big Star songs. And so what we do is it's kind of an all-star jam thing, right? And the first year that Jody came, all of these artists who are used to being at the center of the stage and the spotlight on them were raising their hand because they wanted to sing background vocals on that 70s show theme song, which is a Big Star song. And we're happy to just do, finger snaps into a microphone or hand claps or anything.
mhm.
And that is the selflessness of it. It's like they just want to be a part of singing with Jody Stevens. That's a big deal. And I could tell you 20 more stories just like that of these artists just going, this is great. How can I be more a part of it?
Yeah, I love that so much. How has grief changed over the last 15 years? Because I imagine when this first happens, it feels like you're not going to survive. Like you feel
Yeah.
gutted.
Yep.
So after 15 years, like what does that kind of look like now?
Well, so one of the interesting things as we were starting the charity and I would do press to try to promote the shows, I found I knew exactly in the speech where I would choke up,
Mm-hmm.
where I would have trouble getting the words out. Um, I'm don't have I know where those moments were, and I can kind of power through them now. And so now the grief is more of a, I guess I need to put this out there, but I'm not a spiritual person,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't have this was meant to be or any of that type of stuff. But I now realize this has turned into an opportunity where we can make a difference. And while I would still give any part of my anatomy to have Joe back here, even with all of the issues, that's not going to change. And so instead of grief, it's more resignation to this is what it is. And now how do we um, make this a better thing than it was those first couple years? And it also helps that my family has healed now after time and everybody's in a better place, because that's the other part of grief. It's not just yours, right?
Yeah.
It's others, and you still have to interact with those people. So now it's more of a resignation to, yeah, it happened. Yeah, it was crummy. And let's figure out how to save somebody else from going through it if we can.
Yeah. I think just, I mean, his legacy, this is incredible. Everything you've
Thank you.
done and
Yeah.
all of these things. I mean, this is it's just beautiful.
Hey, I
Um
get to I get to talk about him still. Not a
I
lot of
know.
parents,
Yeah.
years after I still several times a week get a chance to talk about my son. That's a real positive.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think it's an incredible. Also, I mean that's also definitely part of that healing process, to
Yes.
be able to talk about him if he's still
Yeah. He's still a part of our
A part
lives,
of it. Yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah. Minus the parent who's in solitude, keeping it to themselves and not talking about it. It's like they'll never think the world could understand. And when there are
That's
people,
that, that's
yeah,
right.
I think that.
You're exactly right. It goes back to what we started this conversation.
Hmm.
More people get it than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say? We're coming up on our time here, so I'm going to say,
Yep.
what would you say to a parent listening who is in the middle of their own nightmare right now?
Yeah. Fight your fight. Um, Make sure you take care of yourself. That's the huge thing for parents. Self-care goes out the window. You don't get enough sleep, you don't eat right, you don't exercise, you don't do all that. Your child needs you at the top of your game because these fights suck,
Yeah.
right? And you're not going to do them any good if you're sick or don't have the energy or aren't at the top of your game. So, um, you have to advocate for your child as much. The experts are still human beings. Question them. We made the mistake early on of accepting, oh, okay, that's what, we learned as time went on that no, 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 you ask why they think that. But those would be the two things. Take care of yourself because your child, take care of your partner because you can't do this alone. And then be the loudest advocate you can be for your child. If you do those things, you will put yourself in the position for the best possible outcome.
I love that. Where can people follow you? How can they get resourced with
Yep.
you?
Everything is Joey's Song, one word. So remember the two S's in there. So Joey's Song. The website is joeysong.org. On all the social media, it is always just Joey Song, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or any of that type of stuff. Like us, follow us. You'll be kept up to date on what we do with the money, which we give it all to research organizations. As I said, we're all volunteer, so you can follow where the money goes. And the fun part is you can follow what's going on with the concerts. And you don't have to be in Madison in January. We live stream it. So even if you're in Poughkeepsie or Walla Walla, Washington, like us, follow us
And
because you can watch the show live and see all this amazing stuff.
I think that's amazing. Michael, this is the part of the show where I get to tell you what I think makes you special. And it's
Oh,
not the concerts, it's not the famous musicians, it's not even the millions of dollars raised. Like that stuff's cool, right? Like
yeah.
what a gift. But it's really that when life handed you this unimaginable grief, you chose legacy. You took a story that could have ended in heartbreak alone, and you've turned it into hope for thousands of families. You
Thank
made
you.
sure that Joey's life wasn't measured by the years that he had, it's measured by the impact that he continues to have. I'm getting choked up. Okay. This is, I think, everything you're doing. You may not be spiritual, but I am. And I see
Yep.
God's hand in this all over the place. And I just think you are so blessed, and the blessing and the gift that you are giving to other people is incredibly beautiful. And I think it's the greatest gift that could have come out of something so horrific. So
You and I
I
agree. You and I agree on that. We agree on that.
yeah. To everyone listening, you guys, pain changes people, but purpose can redeem pain. It doesn't erase it. You've understand it doesn't explain it. It doesn't push it away, but it redeems it. And Joey's story reminds us that love doesn't end when a life ends. Sometimes it grows larger. Sometimes it becomes a movement, and sometimes it becomes a song. And sometimes the thing that breaks your heart becomes the thing that changes someone else's life forever.
Yep.
So I'm just saying, you guys, be present. Find the gratitude in your current now situation. And please remember that your mess is your message. Even the heartbreak, especially the heartbreak, even the grief, even the chapters that you would have never chosen for yourself. God can still create something beautiful from those. And if this episode speaks to you, let's keep Joey's song growing. Share this
Agree.
out so that, Mike can reach people that really need to hear this. There's a parent out there right now that doesn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and this could just be the thing that flips the switch for them. So, very unselfish, selfless, very selfless thing to do, to share this episode out for someone else. And if you guys are ready for the hot seat, I dare you to come tell me why you're special. Mike, I'm just in awe. Like, you are
Oh,
doing
thank
such
you.
beautiful work, and God bless your whole journey and everything. Thank you for coming with me today.
Thank you for giving me the chance.
Yeah.